What if everything you believed about highly intelligent people was completely wrong? Most people picture intelligence as loud and obvious, the person with all the answers, the fastest talker in the room, the one who makes sure everyone knows how sharp they are. But psychology research has found something that directly contradicts that picture. The habits that show up most consistently in people with extremely high IQs are quiet, unexpected, and in some cases the exact opposite of what you would expect. There are 12 of them, and by the time you reach the last one, you may never look at intelligence or yourself the same way again.
Psychologist Lewis Terman, one of the earliest researchers to study gifted individuals across their entire lifetimes, observed something that stayed with the scientific community long after his work was complete. Genuine intelligence, he found, rarely performs. It does not announce itself in conversations or compete for attention in a room. Instead, it lives in patterns, in the small, quiet, repeated habits a person carries through daily life without even realizing what those habits reveal about them. Some of what comes next will feel immediately familiar. Some of it will genuinely surprise. And one habit near the end is so unexpected that researchers consider it the single clearest behavioral signature of an exceptionally intelligent mind. Keep watching because that one changes everything. The first habit is that they read constantly, but not the way most people do. For most people, reading is something they do to relax or escape. For people with extremely high IQs, it is something closer to a biological need. Psychologists describe this as cognitive hunger, a deep internal drive to keep learning, keep questioning, and keep closing the gaps in what a person does not yet understand. These are the people with 3 books going at the same time, who stop mid-page to sit with a single sentence for several minutes. Their reading is not passive. It is an ongoing, active conversation between their mind and the world. If you have ever found yourself unable to walk past a bookstore without going in, you already know what this feels like. The second habit is that they ask questions others consider unnecessary. Physicist Richard Feynman, one of the most celebrated scientific minds of the 20th century, built his entire approach to understanding around what he called first principles thinking, the practice of stripping every assumption away and asking why something is true at its most basic level rather than simply accepting that it is. People with very high IQs do this naturally. They are the ones in a meeting who ask the question everyone else thought but quietly decided not to say, not to slow things down, but because their mind genuinely cannot move forward on a foundation it does not fully understand. And here's what makes this habit interesting. The deeper you look, the more you realize that most of what people accept as common knowledge does not hold up under that kind of questioning. The third habit is that they spend real time doing absolutely nothing. This one surprises people the most, but neuroscientist Marcus Reichel at Washington University discovered something that changed how scientists understand the resting brain. He identified the default mode network, a system of brain regions that becomes most active not during focused work, but during quiet, unstructured rest. Research has since shown that highly intelligent individuals tend to have richer and more active connectivity within this network, meaning some of their most valuable thinking, their deepest insights, their most original connections does not happen while they are working. It happens in the stillness between the work. The person staring out the window for 20 minutes is not wasting time. They may be in the middle of their most productive thinking of the day. The fourth habit is that they change their mind more often than the people around them. Political scientist Philip Tedlock spent years studying how people form beliefs and update them when new information appears. The most accurate thinkers he studied, the ones he called super forecasters, shared one consistent trait. They treated their own opinions as working theories, not fixed conclusions. Psychologists call this cognitive flexibility, the ability to hold a belief honestly, test it against new evidence, and revise it without feeling personally threatened by the update. For a highly intelligent person, changing their mind is not embarrassing. It is simply the mind doing its job with integrity. But if those 4 habits surprised you, the next one will catch you completely off guard, because it is something most intelligent people have felt quietly ashamed of their entire lives, and the science says they have been wrong to feel that way. The 5th habit is that they talk to themselves regularly, not occasionally, consistently. Research into adult self-directed speech found that thinking out loud is not a sign of distraction or eccentricity. It is one of the brain's most effective tools for organizing complex information, working through difficult problems, and maintaining clarity during high-demand thinking. Highly intelligent people use it naturally because their inner world generates enough complexity to require that kind of structure. If you have ever caught yourself quietly narrating your own thoughts and wondered if that was strange, it is not. It is your mind using exactly the right tool for the job. The 6th habit is that their mind refuses to go quiet at night. Research linking higher cognitive ability to late-night wakefulness points to something scientists describe as hyperconnectivity, a brain that maintains unusually active and wide-ranging connections between regions even during rest. For a highly intelligent person, the moment the room goes quiet is often the moment the mind gets loudest. Thoughts connect to other thoughts, problems resurface. Ideas that spent all day waiting patiently finally find space to move. If you have ever stared at the ceiling at midnight with a mind that simply would not stop, there is a very specific neurological reason for that. The 7th habit is that they are genuinely curious about how other people think. Psychologist Simon Baron-Cohen at Cambridge University identified interpersonal curiosity as a defining cognitive trait, a deep interest not just in what people believe, but in why they believe it, how they arrived there, and what that reveals about the way they see the world. Highly intelligent people often leave conversations more interested in understanding the other person's thinking than in being understood themselves. The 8th habit is that they embrace being wrong. Research consistently shows that highly intelligent individuals are more likely to update their beliefs when confronted with new evidence. Psychologists call this intellectual humility, and for a sharp mind, being wrong is not a blow to the ego. It is simply new information that makes the picture more accurate. The 9th habit is that they find humor in things others completely miss. Researchers at the University of New Mexico identified a link between humor appreciation and general intelligence. The key is incongruity detection, the ability to notice when something breaks an expected pattern faster and more precisely than most people do. This is why highly intelligent people sometimes laugh a full few seconds before anyone else in the room understands why something was funny. The last 3 habits are the ones that bring everything together, and the final one, the 12th, is the habit researchers describe as the most honest and revealing signature of an exceptionally intelligent mind. Most people have never heard it framed this way before. The 10th habit is that they notice things other people completely miss. Researcher Elaine Aron identified what she called perceptual sensitivity, a heightened awareness of subtle details, shifts in tone, and changes in energy that most people filter out without realizing it. Highly intelligent people do this automatically. They walk into a room and sense something is off before they can explain what. They catch the small shift in someone's voice that tells them something important is being left unsaid. It is not something they consciously practice. It is the natural result of a mind that processes the world at greater depth than average. If you have ever picked up on something in a room that nobody else seemed to notice and later turned out to be right, this is why. The 11th habit is that they are rarely satisfied with surface-level answers. Psychologist Fergus Craik introduced the idea of depth of processing, the finding that people vary significantly in how deeply they engage with information. Highly intelligent people almost always need to go further than the first explanation offers. They keep asking questions long after everyone else has accepted the answer. Not to be difficult, but because something inside them genuinely cannot settle until they understand not just what something is, but why it works, where it comes from, and what it connects to. This habit can frustrate people around them, but it is also the habit that leads them to understand things at a level most people never reach. And the 12th habit, the most unexpected one, is that they live with a quiet, persistent sense of incompleteness. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, through decades of research on exceptional minds, observed that highly intelligent people are almost never fully satisfied. Not because their lives are lacking, but because their minds are always reaching, always searching for the next problem worth solving, the next idea that stretches them further, the next layer of understanding that sits just beyond where they currently are. His research on flow theory showed that the people with the greatest intellectual capacity experience life as a continuous search rather than a destination. From the outside, this looks like restlessness. From the inside, it is something far more honest, a mind that simply never stops growing. And that quiet pull towards something deeper is not a flaw to fix. It is the clearest sign of an exceptional mind doing exactly what it was built to do. None of these 12 habits look the way most people expect intelligence to look. They do not perform. They live in the quiet moments, in the questions, the sleepless nights, and the persistent feeling that there is always something more worth understanding. Which of these habits felt most like you? Leave the number in the comments. If this gave language to something you have felt for a long time, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe, because this is exactly what this channel is built for. See you in the next one.